This is the Petros and Money Show, featuring Petros Papadakis and Matt Money Smith.
All right, Matt.
Yep.
Genocide, Kobe Bryant, Turkey, Turkish Air, and the Armenian community. How are they all involved together?
Well, this comes from listener Era Meserlian.
So, an Irish guy.
I'm going to go with Armenian. Dear Petros and Money, I just recently read that Kobe Bryant signed an endorsement deal with Turkish Airlines. Being that your station was the flagship of the Lakers, and both of you specifically cover the Lakers, I thought I'd write to you per the disappointment in the execution of this contract by the greater Los Angeles Armenian community. I am hopeful that your show will take the opportunity to discuss this topic and allow for listeners to call in and express themselves regarding this important issue. Petros, being of Greek descent, I am sure you too share the same disappointment along with the Armenian community, considering what the Greeks have gone through with the Turks. In case you weren't aware, Los Angeles boasts the second largest Armenian community outside of Armenia, with close to 1 million Armenians in the greater Los Angeles area. The majority of these Armenians are strong Lakers fans, specifically Kobe Bryant supporters. It is with great disappointment that we come to find out our very own Kobe Bryant has signed a business deal with Turkish Airlines, and I'm sure this was done by ignorance and oversight, but the Armenians and Turks are enemies, to say the least. And he goes on to detail the Armenian genocide, where 1.5 million Armenians were exterminated, and the Turkish government has yet to acknowledge that it actually happened.
And the U.S. government kind of
originally was going to
sits on the fence because
Turkey, very important airline hub.
They have to deal with Turkey. We've talked about Kobe Bryant and his problems getting new endorsements since his problem in Eagle, Colorado, and the situation there. Kobe lost most all of his endorsements. That's why he does endorsements that I think people have kind of shrugged their shoulders at in the last few years. Most recently, the one for Call of Duty Black Ops, where here's an NBA superstar, the most recognizable athlete in the world, arguably, holding a machine gun in a commercial. Not a big deal to David Vassay, but a big deal to a lot of community activists and people that are around kids that idolize Kobe Bryant, where in their neighborhood, guns and firearms and death by those things are a problem. So I think Kobe Bryant, I don't want to say the word desperate, but I think Kobe Bryant is eager to get as many endorsements as he possibly can to make up for all the years after Eagle, Colorado, when those endorsements were not available.
Nutella, Sprite, McDonald's, all gone.
And he'll never get the McDonald's and Sprites back, but of course Nike and Turkish Airlines and things like that, he will get back. Did Kobe's people think, wow, we're really going to piss off all those Armenians in L.A. if we sign with Turkish Airlines? You'd have to think that somebody would be smart enough
at least brought it up
to know that. And as far as me being Greek and knowing that there's a problem between the Turks and the Greeks, I try to fly above all the haters there. I would even consider going to Turkey, to Istanbul, and visiting it. That's where the Orthodox Church, I'm Greek Orthodox, is based.
What would you visit if you went to Istanbul? What would you absolutely have to check out?
The baths. The baths.
I was trying to get to
there is an ugly history between a lot of European countries and Turkey. Greece, a big, very big, ugly history between Turkey and Greece. And obviously, Armenia, the Armenian people in Turkey, they have a real beef. And it's a very legitimate thing. I'm not going to chime in politically about it. But somebody in Kobe's camp should have known, or maybe done some damage control, or maybe they shouldn't have. I don't know.
Well, I was trying to get to the bottom of whether now Turkish Airlines, known as Türk Hava Yolları, is considered the national airline of Turkey, and that can mean a lot of different things. It can just be afforded privileges and routes, from the government, or it can be state-run. Now, if it's state-run, then I think maybe you have a pretty big problem with it, because Kobe has now entered a partnership with the Turkish government. If it's an independent company that's just afforded some breaks with the government, that's a little bit different. It's not like he's partnered.
Which is it?
I can't get to the bottom of it. It does not say when I'm trying to poke around and see. It looks like they are publicly traded, so that leads me to think that maybe they are not part of the government.
Turkey is trying to make serious strides at becoming part of the European Union. They do not want to be on the outside. They don't want to be considered a Middle Eastern country. They want to be the gateway to the Middle East and a European country. So all that stuff is going on around this. Not to have international talk, because I'm not that good at it. But Kobe, again, having to get non-basketball endorsements outside of the USA. Kobe Bryant is more popular in China than Yao Ming.
Yeah.
And China's got some human rights problems as well, if you've looked into the past.
I don't think so.
There's a couple in there, Matt.
Got a couple releases from the Chinese government. There's really nothing in there. You know, perhaps what he was thinking, Kobe, a big soccer fan. Apparently, Turkish Airlines, also a sponsor of Manchester United, FC Barcelona, a lot of international soccer clubs that are some of the most popular in the world. So maybe that was where he figured, I'm cool. They're cool.
Lakers are up 13 in the second quarter. Andrew Bynum is playing. John Wall is out with knee tendonitis in Washington, D.C. The district sleeping alone. Tonight, we'll be right back on the Petros and Money Show on Fox Sports Radio, 1 minute away from our next hour. But right at the end of our very last segment of last hour, which can be podcast at petrosandmoney.com, we got into Kobe Bryant partnering with Turkish Airlines and doing commercials for those curvy, sordid, fez-wearing Turks out there in Turkey. Big city, Istanbul. 20 million people live in Istanbul. Well, the reason that is a topic, not that big of a deal for a superstar basketball player to be signing an endorsement, even an international endorsement, but there's some people who have major beef with the Turks, the Armenians. And there is a huge Armenian community here in the city of Los Angeles who has a huge beef with the Turks. Armenians all over the world have a huge beef with the Turks, a little something called the Armenian Genocide.
Here in L.A., every April 24th, whatever you think of their music, Serge Tankian actually hosts a big event, typically at the Gibson Amphitheater, which is probably about I would say it's about a 5,000-seat venue. Usually sells out, and it is all about creating awareness. Yes, it's a huge deal. Nationally, but especially here in Southern California, where Glendale and the greater Los Angeles area has the second largest population of Armenians outside of Armenia.
And Matt brought up a salient point in the very last segment saying, well, who is Kobe doing this deal with? Is Turkish Airlines a private company? Is he just doing business with a Turkish company? Or is Kobe Bryant actually doing business with the same Turkish government that will not recognize that they tried to wipe out the Armenian people decades ago? And the answer to that question is, Matt?
Both. Apparently, Turkish Airlines, well, not apparently, I finally got to the bottom of it. They are a publicly traded company. The majority of them is publicly traded. 50.9% of their shares are traded publicly, while the other 49.1% is, in fact, state-controlled. It was established in 1933 as State Airlines Administration under the direction of the Ministry of Defense. So, yeah, I mean, I guess to some degree, you would say he has partnered with the Turkish government on this endorsement deal.
And you would be shocked to know, Matt, that our own Armenian employee, Misak Tokmanyan, one of the most famous, other than the guys from System of a Down, one of the most famous Armenians in the city of Los Angeles is our own Misak Tokmanyan.
Just look at the totals on Follow Misak, his Twitter page.
He's got a huge Twitter page.
Huge.
And in the very popular YouTube video, Brow Down.
That's right.
Done by our friend Psycho Mike from K-Rock and Loveline, Misak was the inspiration behind Brow Down, and he sat in the front seat of the BMW during the shooting of the video.
Looking hard.
Those are his eyebrows that you see in Brow Down. And Misak is producing our show on Thursday. David Vassay will be
maybe longer than that.
Separated from his head at that point. Misak will be producing our show on Thursday. You'd be shocked to know that Misak has been chiming in with texts and emails about this very subject.
I would have never guessed that. I would have thought I sat this one out.
He just CC'd me on this one. Thank you for even reading that email. Was nice of you guys. See you Thursday. Misak.
Bro.
So Misak is on top of this as well. And we're not making fun of something.
No.
But I just want to ask you, Matt, because I just have to ask you, Matt, what would something like this cost?
Nothing, P.
What?
It's absolutely free.
No. What I have to ask you is this, Matt. You know some of the people that have been around Kobe for a long time. Kobe comes on the show from time to time.
Yep.
We've had him on. They seem like smart people.
Yeah, he's got good people.
Right. So did they just know this was going to happen and figure they'd weather the storm, which could very well be the case? Or did this blindside them that this giant community in Los Angeles is outraged about an international, because Kobe signs a deal with Taka Airlines, Take a Chance Airlines down in El Salvador, nobody cares.
No.
It doesn't make news here. But he signs a deal with Turkish Air and Armenians all over L.A., and it's a big community in L.A., get upset.
Yeah,
They should have seen this coming,
right? If he's a Boston Celtic or a New York Knick, this is not a big deal. But in Los Angeles, it is. And
they should have seen this coming.
It's a huge deal. Yeah, I think they really ought to have thought this through. And I don't know what the endorsement contract is and how much scratch he's getting out of this. But let's face it, like you said, Kobe is the most popular player in China, bigger than Yao Ming, bigger than Yi Jianlian, who actually left that Wizards-Lakers game with an injury. He is very popular. He sells a lot of jerseys. He sells a lot of shoes, especially in the international community, and perhaps this was something that they thought would just further his brand. And like I said, they have a lot of sponsorships. They've got FC Barcelona. They've got Manchester United.
Turkey does.
Turkish Airlines does. That's not Los Angeles. That is not Los Angeles, California. So at the very least, it's interesting, and it's something that you you'd like to think was kicked around with his people, and a line drawn down the middle of paper with pros and cons.
Now, it's funny because I got married in Greece in a little island called Rhodes, which you can see Turkey from. And there's a big Ottoman or Turkish or even Arabic influence on the island, even though it's a Greek island. Very interesting, though. I was just talking to one of the few people that was at my wedding over the weekend, and he told me a story of how he was at a nightclub talking to somebody the night after the wedding, and very nice conversation with a Greek gentleman. And the guy said, well, where are you guys going next? Where have you been? He said, well, we were on Santorini, we were in Athens, and now we're here on Rhodes. And the guy says, very nice conversation for 10 minutes. And the guy said, well, where are you going next? He says, well, we're going to Istanbul. And the guy turned and walked away from him.
That was it.
And that is the reaction that you get in Greece when you open your mouth about the Turks, because the Greeks feel like the Turks did them pretty dirty. And if you looked into the decades and the centuries, there were some pretty bad things that went down.
The fez.
The fez, the curvy swords, the raping of the women, the occupation of the country, things of that nature. There's a lot of that. But the Armenians, they have a genocide in the 20th century that they're still super pissed about, and they have a right to be. So it is a hot-button topic in the city of Los Angeles, like you said, Matt. Now, what happens? Does Kobe rescind this deal and apologize to the Armenian community? Does he put out a statement of some kind saying he doesn't condone any kind of Armenian genocide? How do they go about solving this problem? Because if we're getting letters, and this thing just got announced today, Kobe Bryant and the Lakers facility down in El Segundo and KB24, his Twitter page or whatever it is, or his website, or the Black Mamba helicopter. I mean, they're getting absolutely peppered with negative emails, tweets, texts, and voice messages, I'm sure.
I'll tell you exactly how this is going to play out. I'm going to look into the future, and I guess the information I had was a little bit old, but they still own a portion of the carrier, 30%. Instead, it's 60% owned by private.
He's doing business with the Turkish government, who will not recognize the Armenian genocide. There's a huge Armenian community here in L.A.
They're going to ask Kobe to put out a statement on KB24.com or something on April 24th to acknowledge the Armenian genocide. And I can promise you, if in fact he does that, he will no longer be endorsing Turkish Airlines. So I think that's how it's going to get put to him, and that's the decision his people are going to have to make. Does he acknowledge on that day the Armenian genocide and then get dropped by Turkish Airlines, or does he gloss over it and piss off a pretty damn large contingency of people in Los Angeles?
Who will still be Laker fans, even if they hate that Kobe is endorsing Turkish Airlines. Now, all that being said, Matt, I have the perfect guy to take Kobe's place in endorsing Turkish Air. Hito Turkoglu. Look him up, Turkish Airlines. He's not hard to find.